Hey y'all, it's my review for the Real Housewives of Potomac. Ooh, it's been a while, right? Feels like it. This is for episodes 11 and 12. Last week, it just felt like a filler episode, followed by more fighting between the two Nigerian women on the show. So I was just like, let me just skip it. And then, Married to Medicine, again, I just wanted to, just take a break on the Sunday night disappointment. But, Married to Medicine, they're still doing good. It's just, I needed a break from Sunday night. Anywho, this episode starts out with Wendy and Eddie surprising their son for his birthday. He just turned 10. Sweet scene, but we're on to the next. So next scene, we're with Giselle and Ashley. We're at Giselle's $900,000 barn, and they're looking over their athleisure wear that they're doing together. It's given Shein, we see hot pink, a little bit of lace. The name of their clothing line is G&A. No, it does not stand for gaudy and atrocious. It stands for Giselle and Ashley. We cut to Ashley's confessional, and she talks about always relying on Michael and being a kept woman. Maybe that wasn't the smartest decision. And when you think about it, she's been tied to him since season 1. She really hasn't worked, really. She's relied on Michael's money. So she said, hopefully this line, she can start making her own money. Who on this cast is rich? That's what I want to know. I'm thinking. I tried, y'all. And when I mean rich, at least Candy Burr is rich. And the reason why I'm so hard on Potomac, y'all, is because it really used to be entertaining. It's just the season 5 turn, I just don't know what happened. It just went downhill from there. I could even tolerate season 6, but it just kept going further and further down. Next scene with Karen, she's talking to her relatives about the house that she bought in Surrey County. I love how she's referencing that spinoff that nobody watched. How many episodes was it? Was it 2 or 4? I can't remember. The first episode I tried, but it's Karen, I love you, but you're great with an ensemble cast. Not on your own. Karen looks stunning in this scene though. Y'all just don't know. I've been with this show since season 1. Talk about a glow up. Next scene we're with Mia and Robin doing some sort of salt spa activity. Oh God, I hate this orange dress Mia's wearing in her confessional. Every time I see it, it just irks me. So Mia's talking about Candace's Mother's Day event for a bit. Then she says that Karen mentioned that she bought a house in Syria. She wanted all the ladies to come, but she's going to be drawing their names out of fishbowl, kind of like a lottery. So as they're on the topic of Karen, they're just saying she's kind of crazy. And then Robin goes to say that she believes that Karen is obsessed with her because I guess she found a picture of her family in Karen's phone. So then production, it kind of corroborates Robin's theory that Karen is obsessed with her by giving us a clip show about how concerned she was, when they're getting married, or when Juan touched the small of her back or something like that. Karen's been on Robin's neck for years. That's probably because of her association with Giselle. So then they're both talking about each other's relationships, and it looks like Mia's hinting that she might divorce G. And then she's asking Robin, she's always asking Robin the right questions. And she's like, so you don't think you and Juan need to go to therapy? She says that their issues aren't with each other. Their issues are the outside things, and they need to enjoy life more. Okay, girl. She is a soldier for her man. A clown, but also a soldier. So next scene we're with Wendy and Eddie on a lunch date. And I gotta say, I like Wendy, I really do. I think she's a great person, but her scenes by herself are just kind of boring, So then they're both talking about their business ambitions, Wendy with her new show, and then Eddie doing the Happy Eddie, getting into the 420 business, which I think is smart. But you know what I noticed between the two of them? I don't think they're happy with their careers that they have. Eddie's a lawyer, but he's doing this side hustle right now. I think that's what he'd rather be doing than being a lawyer. And I think Wendy, we've seen season after season that I don't think she enjoys being a teacher. I think she'd just rather be doing something else. They'd rather be entrepreneurs doing something that they actually like. It's kind of like the difference between having a job and then having a passion. That's just my opinion. Side note, the food at this restaurant they're at looks really good. I mean, I love me a Caribbean restaurant. So I was looking it up, and it's like a little bit outside of Baltimore. And then I see that, okay, it's Baltimore, then DC, and then Potomac is like above it. They're an hour outside of Potomac right now. Where does Wendy live? My DMV subscribers in the chat, help me out. Next scene, we're with Karen and Ray, also on a lunch date. There's a little funny moment when the waitress tells him that it's happy hour. Karen tells him, you better get back to the main menu, to the I love my wife prices. Geez, just because you have money doesn't mean you can't order off the happy hour menu. So then Karen goes into talking about her health for a bit. Then she's telling Ray about how she's inviting some of the ladies to Siri to see the house that she bought. She definitely selected the few of the ladies. She didn't draw names out of a fishbowl. She said, I chose the names that I wanted to put in the fishbowl. Girl, bye. So she invited Ashley, Candace, Wendy, and Giselle. We see the text message thread where she only put those ladies on it for the invite. Ashley, Candace, and Wendy, they all hearted. And then Giselle says she can't make it. I mean, of course she's not going. Why would she have went without Robin? That's her real friend. I mean, her and Ashley are cool, but Robin and her, I mean, they're the green-eyed bandits, thick as thieves. And again, we have proof that Giselle is the common denominator of division in the group. So next scene, we're with Nneka and her husband moving into her house. Side note, we're almost halfway through this episode and not much has happened. Oh, so then a car pulls up in their driveway and we see a pair of stovepipe legs get out the car, and it is Giselle visiting her. So we cut to Giselle's confessional, and she says it's nice getting to know Nneka outside of the group and the chaos between Nneka and Wendy. And she says she likes Nneka. They're talking about the ladies now. Nneka's saying she's going to take Mia's advice as far as trying to have a child. I'm not sure why production gave us like a visual of Nneka's husband's face on sperm or whatever. We didn't need to do all that. But side note, Nneka's husband is fine. Am I the only one who thinks this? So then they're talking about Karen, and then we go to a flashback where it's just Nneka and her. They're going around Potomac. Karen's showing her the sights. And then Nneka tells Giselle that Karen kind of shaded her, saying that her house is to the north of Potomac, kind of implying that she's not really in Potomac. But Giselle was like, you have the Potomac zip code. And for one thing, Karen shouldn't be talking because Karen don't own her house. She rents. To rent and have a mortgage on a Housewives franchise, you would think that is the worst thing. Oh, Giselle, like she will shade Karen any chance she gets, and I don't mind it. Oh, so there's another guest coming over, and it's Charisse. And it turns out that Nneka and Charisse have been pretty cool lately. They've hung out one-on-one. Like Nneka, she's establishing her friendship with all the right people. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw her next season. And I always say that, like, Charisse, like, that's real Potomac money. Like, she knows all the Potomac girls with money, so it's like, even if you bring a new Potomac housewife on the show, Charisse, 9 times out of 10, are going to know them. So you really can't get rid of her. So then now the three of them together, and you know Charisse isn't going to pass on the opportunity to shade Karen. So while she's on the topic, like they get a text message from Karen, and now she's inviting everybody to Surrey County. This kind of backfired on Karen. Like, she tried to get certain people to go, and now since Giselle isn't going, she's now inviting everybody, including Giselle again. I didn't really care for that. Like, she should have just invited all the ladies in the first place. Oh, and of course she didn't invite Charisse. So we cut to Giselle's confession, and she's talking about the invite, and she says don't pull her name when Candace and Wendy are involved. She wants nothing to do with them. Now, even from Giselle's perspective, I can see why she don't want to fuck with Candace, but why Wendy? You know, like, I feel like there's space to move on with Wendy. But again, there goes that division. However, I do think if Karen just invited all the ladies in the first place, like, everybody would have came. So now Giselle's reading Karen's text message where she's inviting all the ladies, and Karen tags on, I have increased my liability insurance. Okay, Karen. Wow. And then we found out that the event is literally the next day. And now she's just inviting the ladies now that it's only the four of them going. I'm sure production had a hand in that. Like, listen, now it's only four of y'all. Like, what sense does that make? Now I'm gonna ask this question to the live chat. Like, what would y'all do if y'all weren't on the first invite and you're getting a secondhand invite? I would definitely feel some type of way. And then knowing me, I don't like to do anything last minute. I probably wouldn't have went, but it looks like NECA goes. Oh, that's it. It's just NECA. So then we see the whole text message exchange. So then Robin says it's too last minute for her. She already made plans. And then we see Mia respond and she says she can't get past the original invite in quotes. And the only reason she knew that because in the previous text message, Wendy talked about the original invite. So Mia isn't going either. Yeah, this definitely blew up in Karen's face. So then we fast forward to the next day. The ladies that were on the original invite are there, and the only extra person that came after Karen's invite is NECA. So as they're driving to Surrey, Karen lets the ladies know that I invited everybody. No, you didn't, Karen. You didn't invite everybody at first. And the only reason you changed that invite is because Giselle said she wasn't going. So then we find out that Mia left an additional text message on the group chat and it said, I don't do last minute urgent RSVP demands. Congratulations to you and yours. Oh, I don't blame Mia. Like, Karen knew what she was doing. She didn't invite Mia at first. So it is what it is, and it's last minute. It was the next morning. Like, again, I know we don't like Mia, but in this case, I'm not mad at her. Ooh, and okay, NECA finally speaking up. So then she said, well, I can honestly share the same sentiment with Mia. It took for Giselle to decline your invitation for you to consider opening it to everybody else. Karen couldn't say nothing to that. And this is what I want from NECA. Like, speaking up in situations like this. Like, don't worry about Wendy anymore. Like, start establishing yourself with the other ladies. Have an opinion. So then later, Wendy lets the ladies know that Eddie will be having like a little weed event for his Happy Eddie brand. It seems like all the ladies are invited. She said it's Eddie's event, so she's not really in charge of the invite. We cut to her confessional. Production's asking, will she invite NECA? Or will Eddie invite NECA? She's just quiet. I don't know. I just really think she should just let the beef go and just move on. These ladies really need to take a page out of Housewives of Beverly Hills, hit the matter head on, and then move on. But then afterward, NECA says she has an event of her own where I think all the ladies are invited. She says it's going to be an unpacking party at her new house. So then we see Ashley telling Wendy that NECA said she asked you to come. Wendy still seems a little bothered, saying that there's a bunch of steps in between that we're missing. And I think NECA overhears this, and we cut to her confessional. She's saying she don't feel like she has to do any steps. From the outside looking in, it does look like NECA's trying to be the better person and not exclude Wendy at least. So, I mean, there's a little progress there. Is it? So then the topic is on Ashley now and what she's up to. She lets the group know that she's doing an athleisure line with Giselle. And Wendy says, you going into business making clothes with Giselle? Wow, this looked like a long-ass road trip. They could really fast forward for all of us. So they finally arrive at their destination. They get to the house, and y'all, I'm not even trying to be funny. It looked abandoned from the outside, but when they went in, there were people. Like, Karen's relatives were inside. I was like, oh, okay. They can't be staying there. They're probably staying at a hotel near the property. All right, we moving along. They getting introduced to the family. A little bit later, they get changed into their farming gear or work gear. Karen is the only one in her Surrey gown. Did Candace say that? And she's wearing Chanel sneakers. So yeah, they're about to do some yard work. Fast forward. So after doing all that, they're just sitting around having lunch, and they're just saying how it's just been a positive experience so far. Wendy's throwing a little bit shade, saying thank you for giving me the original invite. And then Ashley brings up how, you know, even her and Candace are getting along, and maybe even NECA and Wendy. And Wendy, she still got that look on her face. She's just like, not today, Satan. So finally, Wendy is directly addressing NECA, saying that, this is a sisterhood. Girl, I can stop you right there. A sisterhood? Really? Who's your friend? Who's your real friend in this group? I mean, yeah, Candace, but have you been hanging out with Karen when the cameras are down? I don't think so. We can leave the sisterhood behind. But she brings up that NECA called her a bitch, called her mom a witch, and her husband tried to fight Eddie. NECA's pleading her case, saying why she did what she did, and she only told the truth. And then Wendy, who's in commentator, I have 4 degrees mode, I have no desire to fraternize with someone whose existence is inconsequential to... I'm like, okay, Wendy, just say you don't fuck with her. I'd rather just hear that. Save the soliloquy. I think I'm frustrated because it just looks like Wendy is the one that's being bothered because NECA is willing to move on. I wish Wendy would just play the game to go along and get along. And if you don't want to play that game, then they might get you off the show, production, or you might as well leave. And I understand the difference between Giselle and Candace. That's a whole different can of worms. Like, that bridge is completely burned and destroyed. Between NECA and Wendy, they could get over this. Like, can we just stop this narrative, please? We even saw in Watch What Happens Live that Andy is over it. The audience is over this fight. There are other potential storylines to explore. Holding Robin accountable should be the focal point of this season, but it's just being ignored for this bullshit. So the credits are rolling. They're going back and forth now. Wendy gets up and says, steps have been skipped. And NECA says, I didn't skip any steps, but everyone is still invited. And yeah, that is where the episode ends. Let's get into episode 12. Hopefully it was better. So we opened this episode with Giselle and Ashley. They're at the fabric store. They're very serious about their line. And I'm curious, is this going to be another She by Sheree situation? Will we get a fashion show by the end of the season? We'll see. But then they invite Robin as well as Mia. They're all there together. They are talking about Coochie Sweat. I want to fast forward, but I know they're about to talk about Surrey County since Ashley's the only one that went. Yep, I knew it. Somebody was going to bring it up. So they're talking about how rude it was for Karen to do that. And then Ashley, of course, being the messy person she is saying that Karen is mad at Mia. And then they're talking about Wendy's upcoming weed event. And Ashley thought that NECA was invited, but she is. And then production shows us Wendy's phone. Hi, ladies. It feels like our group has been down for so long, so it's finally time for us to get high. We'll get to that later because wasn't no weed at that event. But then we see at the top, Wendy put NECA as Ashley's friend in her phone. We also find out that all the ladies are going, even Giselle. Giselle said, well, y'all will be there, so I'll be there. I will say, though, it would have been really grimy if Wendy tried to purposely leave out NECA. So I'm glad she invited her. So next scene we're with NECA, and we're finally seeing at episode 12 what she does for work. So she has many hats, but then she also has a sparkling wine brand that she works on. Now, I will give NECA props that this new confessional look is much better. Much better. So then NECA is visited by her cousin-in-law, the cousin-in-law in question, like at the root of Wendy versus NECA beef. Like, she knows Wendy's sister. Another friend of NECA comes over. She's talking about like her unpacking event, and it's gonna be kind of like a sleepover theme. And she's inviting Lebby. Now, why would she do that, knowing the history they have with Wendy? I don't even think Wendy's gonna go to her house, because then she'll just be asking for it. NECA does say that she appreciates Wendy for extending the invite to Eddie's event. So next scene we're with Candace and Chris, and the gist of their conversation is they're both going to Eddie's weed event. You know, all the ladies are going to be there, and Candace is asking him, like, are you going to be okay? And he said, yeah. And I think the last time he's seen the ladies was the reunion. He said the other husband should be there, Juan, allegedly, G, and then everyone's going to be high anyway. So next scene, we get right into it. It's the day of Happy Eddie's event. We see Wendy and Eddie walking into the dispensary. So this is a very nice dispensary. Like, upstairs looks like they have like a boardroom space. And the lady that's facilitating the event, she says, well, we're not actually rolling real marijuana today. I don't want to scare anybody. They're gonna do oregano? Really? The way she hyped this event and saying everybody gonna get high, I would have been mad as soon as I walked in the door. We cut to Wendy's confessional, and it looked like she didn't even know that this would be happening. Like, is there some behind the scenes reason they couldn't use real weed? Like, didn't they say it was legal? So Candace and Chris shows up, but wait, like Candace says she has to leave early, but Chris is gonna stay? Why did y'all even come? I mean, yeah, you could have just showed your support, but both of y'all should have just left. So then we see Mia walk in with G, surprisingly. I'm surprised he came with her. Well, at least Chris isn't the only husband, because I don't think Juan Dixon is coming. Okay, so even though they're not rolling real weed, at least they get to go home with real weed. So most of the ladies are arriving now. Karen gets there, not with Ray, with her minion Matt, but then she first sees Mia, and now they're gonna hash this out right now. Oop, and Mia is standing on business. She's like, oh, your second string invite? Ooh, so they going back and forth. And I'm sorry, Karen, but I'm on Mia's side. You can't send me some secondhand invite and then try to force me to go like 12 hours in advance. That's the notice I get? It's the very next day? No, I don't do second string invites. You can't get mad at me for that. Just because you didn't expect your homegirl Giselle to decline your invite. Karen is like, well, it's better than your boring ass life. While they are really just arguing at the event as people are arriving. Now see, this is what I want to see rather than NECA and Wendy. I want to see Mia versus Karen because activated Karen is hilarious. Oh! Mia says, old dog, new tricks. Ashley's face. Look at Ashley's face. Like, did she really call Karen an old dog? We gotta keep Mia for next season. I'm sorry. Karen comes back though. You are the trick. So I was so busy laughing I had to go back and inspect the scene. So Mia threw the first dagger saying, I didn't want to go to boring ass Surrey County. So that's when Karen told her about her boring ass life. And then I saw when NECA walked in, at least she greeted Wendy. She patted her on the shoulder. It was like, thanks for the invite. And they continue on being distracted by this argument in front of them. So thankfully the argument stops because Giselle walks in and she's greeting everybody. Oh my God, so then Mia's telling Giselle what happened and she called Karen an old dog with new tricks. Immediately, Giselle goes over to Karen and tells her, oh, so I heard you're an old dog with new tricks. So then we see Wendy telling the other ladies when Giselle arrived, she didn't even speak to her. And she's like, how you gonna come to my event and don't speak? So then production is showing how Wendy completely disregarded Giselle on not one, but 3 other occasions. So, I mean, she should not expect Giselle to say hello to her at this point. So of course the elephant is addressed in the room, well at least in Giselle's confessional, because her and Chris are in the same room. And Giselle says she hasn't seen Chris since the reunion. Then she throws some shade at him, implying that he gained some weight, probably due to stress. So the event begins, Eddie starts speaking, and then we cut to Mia's confessional where she's shading Eddie for being an always available attorney and saying, oh, so now he the weed man? Now, it's funny shade, but Mia got some nerve because her husband, like, what is he doing right now? What is Mia doing right now? She's allegedly broke, so she really has no business commenting on anybody's career. So then Eddie's letting them all know that they're gonna be rolling oregano instead of actual weed. And, you know, we cut to all the ladies' confessionals. How you have a weed party with no weed? I gotta admit, the whole thing is just corny and yet another L for Wendy. So after they all finish rolling up oregano, we notice that G leaves, and then Robin is asking Mia, like, how are they? And it's still looking ominous for this couple. So then we cut to Giselle's confessional, and she says, anytime you deal with a man that's at least 15 years older, and she says she doesn't know the age difference between G and Mia because Mia be lying, that you're always gonna go through something. So later on, we see NECA approach Wendy, and she thanks her for inviting her, and she would like to have a private conversation with her, sit down somewhere and talk things out, possibly move on, or don't. Wendy still seems hesitant to do all this, and NECA is saying, well, you said 20 steps were missing, and me asking you to sit down is the first step. And all Wendy has to say is, I receive it, let me process it. I guess I'm just frustrated because I just want them to move on. I get why Wendy is angry, but just for the sake of the show, move on. Move on. Regardless, Nneka tells Wendy thank you for inviting her because she knew that was a large olive branch. But what I think Nneka doesn't know is there was no meaning behind her invite. Wendy was just trying not to be petty, because if it was up to her, she wouldn't have invited her. So next scene with Mia and G on a lunch date. So the gist of this conversation, it looks like they just came back from therapy. They're doing lunch dates because I guess they can't afford a nanny. And she still harbors some resentment with him because he hasn't really owned accountability on his part of why his family shut him out the business. And him being shut out the business terminated her role in the business. So Mia's laying it all out for the camera. She definitely looked into having a divorce. They're talking about their issues with one another. Like in the home, like especially how she had to move. They've been arguing, and she said she was in a hostile environment with him. He seems like he's just trying to put on for the cameras and make sure he don't see nothing crazy. He also wants to make sure when she says hostile environment, he didn't hit her, but she just meant it as she's in a stressful environment. Oh my God, not them transitioning talking about Ashley's business and whether she's still married or not. G's like, of course she ain't leaving Michael. She can't give up a sugar daddy. That's a good gig to land. He would know. So now the two of them are talking about hypothetically, if they got a divorce, what would happen. Again, y'all, I don't believe a thing that comes out Mia's mouth. So whatever they say to each other, I'm taking it with a grain of salt. So next thing is the day of Nneka's event. Her sister is there, her other friend, and she's wondering if Wendy's gonna come. She said she didn't hear from Wendy that she's not coming, so she's expecting her. I don't think Wendy's showing up. But then we see Giselle's the first one to arrive. Side note, that's a big ass house Nneka has. So all the ladies are arriving. You know, Charisse is there. Charisse is sitting next to Mia, and then Karen walks in. She does speak to them. She's like, hello, everyone. And here again, we see Wendy's friend who has still not said anything. It's just, her presence is just so weird. And speaking of Wendy's friend, she finally has a speaking role because she's speaking on behalf of her friend Wendy that she's not coming to Nneka's event. So Candace is the last to arrive, and it looks like Nneka is actually expecting these ladies to unbox her shit. It is kind of weird. So they take a break from unboxing, which I don't even think they did. But Giselle, producer, she's getting the mess started. She's sitting next to Karen with Charisse and Mia across from her. And she asks Karen, is she good with Mia? So they're going back and forth for a bit, but then Nneka interrupts and lets them know that brunch is ready. And that brunch looks good. Good hosting job, Nneka. At least feed the ladies. But now you have Ashley, producer number 2, asking me about the incident. Karen overhears it and says, are y'all still talking about this? And Mia's like, well, you did call me a trick. And it takes a trick to know a trick. Oh, I'm here for this feud because it's a little refreshing because it's light and funny. We come to Karen's confessional. She's like, Mia wants my light. I have to shine on you, bitch. Oh, I think I spoke too soon because now Karen is really coming for Mia and wants to let her know how rumors feel. So then she said that she was fucking a rapper and also she was messing around with a married man. I love the juxtaposition of Karen's statements saying, well, yeah, you know, I heard you fucked a rapper. I heard you was fucking around with a married man, but I would never say that. Oh, goodness. So we cut to both of these ladies' confessionals. Karen is saying, you know, the rumor, and then we cut to Mia right afterward, and she's like, it's not a rapper. I guess there's some truth to it. So I thought this part was interesting. So Giselle's asking Mia, have you fucked a rapper? And she starts naming the rappers, but it's bleeped out. But I have my closed captions on, and it says YG as well as Lil Uzi Vert. Did anyone notice that? Is Bravo going to get in trouble? Are people talking about this on Twitter? Now, wait a minute, Mia. She's saying that she's not fucking a rapper, but she did hang out with those rappers. So now we know it was YG and Lil Uzi Vert. Thank you, closed caption. I am so confused, but then again, it is lying-ass Mia. She said Gordon was there too. He's the only married man I'm sleeping with. Then Karen has the nerve to say, well, this is what I'm talking about. We need to stop bringing rumors to this group. Really, Karen? So later on, the ladies decide to play a messy game of Never Have I Ever. But this time they're passing out blank sheets of paper and people will write things that they think about people in the group to try to expose people. That's the messy element. And of course, Giselle Bryant starts saying that never have I ever paid for vitamin D. And then the camera immediately zooms on Karen. Oh, and then Ashley put Sharice on blast. Sharice's reaction was funny. So the next one is never have I ever screenshot a friend's family picture and saved it to my camera roll. Mia wrote that. That is so messy. Oh my God. So Robin, she just tells Karen what the deal is. Karen doesn't deny it, at least. She's like, really? I did? And she's like, maybe if I liked that, screenshot it. But the other ladies were like, that's kind of weird. And then NECA joins in, you put it in a folder? Giselle continues, so you have a Robin Dixon folder? Karen then says she does. Why am I laughing so much? Like, this is the old Potomac kind of, because it's messy and everybody's coming at each other. We got to Giselle's confessional. She's like, she might have a crush on Robin's father. Why would she put that out there? Karen's doing her best now to casually justify screenshotting a picture of Robin and her family. But they move on, and then we see the credits are rolling, and Karen proposes a toast with NECA's wine to all the ladies, and they cheer on NECA. And that is where the episode ends. This was a pretty decent episode. I enjoyed the new little feud between Karen and Mia. Like, they don't really hate each other, they'll still speak, but the shade was there, definitely. And then the confessionals, that was funny. So I'll give it to him. I enjoyed the latter half of this episode. I also want to say, Lois of Keys, Wendy's presence was not missed at all. And I think she did a disservice to herself by not showing up. And I'm just calling it how I see it, y'all. I don't dislike Wendy, but she's really proven that her presence on the show is not necessary. So you can continue not to go to NECA's events, but you're only hurting yourself. So yeah, y'all, after this, Potomac and Married to Medicine does not come back until February 18th. Y'all know next week is the Super Bowl, and that is perfect because I'll be in Mexico. So I welcome the break. But yes, y'all let me know what y'all thought about these 2 episodes, and make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see y'all for Married to Medicine. Bye.